Today we're looking at 30 organic farming techniques that pro market gardeners use every day and that you can too. This is the ultimate market gardening trick. We're maximizing yields. We don't use this technique for any other crops. It's just for leeks. Number one, weeding while standing. Okay, so pro market gardeners are not hand weeding on their knees. We're cultivating soil using these kind of tools, stirrup hose and wheel hose, and we're cultivating the soil so that our plants are weed-free effortlessly. Number two is direct seeding with push seeders. So we're not rolling seeds in our hands, and we're doing it really fast and efficiently. We want to have optimal density, and we have amazing seeders that are ergonomically designed and very precise, allow us to seed 10, 100 times faster than by hand. Some of these seeders will allow us to do up to 6 rows at once, which is crazy fast. Number three is marking your rows correctly. It's really important. We mark our rows so that when we're direct seeding or transplanting, everything is equidistant so that when we come back later on to cultivate, everything is straight and that our edges with the blades can really go narrow and close to the crops. Spacing your crops is really important, and marking your rows is how we do it. All right, number four is getting roots really deep into the ground using a broad fork. This is like a handheld subsoiler that allows you to really work the soil without turning it over, without using heavy machinery, and allowing your roots of all these plants that you're growing to connect really deep down with the soil. Game changer. Number five is using compost to grow amazing crops, and plenty of it. Because we're pumping so much vegetables out of the ground, we need to replenish the soil, and that's where compost, good compost, comes into play. So we're not cheap with compost, and it's worth every penny we're investing either building it or buying it. But we're not only using compost, and we're not doing it blindly. We're also adding some organic fertilizers, calcium, phosphorus, potassium, at different stage of different plants because we're trying to nourish the plant and the soil both at once. Because we know that plants have different nutrient needs at different times, we time our fertility with different cycles of each plant, and that's how we get optimal plant health and optimal yields. Number seven is surface cultivation using the right tools. So we talked about using seeders, we talked about broad forking and putting a lot of compost, but you can't seed if your soil is like this. That's why you'll need to cultivate the top 2 inches using different tools that will create perfect tilth. Number 8 is using cover crops to cover and protect your soil, but most importantly, how to terminate them in a no-till system. So for instance, this is one cover crop that got tarped, and you see how it's perfectly protecting the soil, and then we'll be able to simply remove it and plant directly into really nice, good soil. So number 9 is using different mulches. So a cover crop can be a mulch, straw can be a mulch, a row cover can be a mulch, but the idea is to cover the ground so that we're keeping the humidity for the plants, and we're also avoiding a lot of weeding and cultivation. So we have different systems at different times, but it's all made for one reason alone, is to make sure that we're creating optimal growing conditions with mulches. And one of these mulch is number 10, which is using black silage tarp to do what we call occultation. So most of our bed prep here in the market garden is done by using these UV treated silage tarp that will eliminate what was growing underneath before, and that will germinate these dormant weed seeds because there's no light. Eventually they'll die off, which really helps to alleviate the weed pressure on the bed. But black silage tarp, what's called occultation, absence of light, using them to cover beds and field blocks, is how we're able to create a no-till system and do the bed prep that we need to do on the farm. Number 11 is another clever idea, is using the stale seedbed technique. So the game is to eliminate cultivation and weeding if it's possible. That's why certain mulches work well, but when we're direct seeding a lot of crops, it won't be practical to use mulches beforehand. So the technique is really easy. What we do is we prepare our beds and we then try to germinate as many weeds as possible for at least a few weeks. Then we will destroy these weeds either by using flame weeding, tarps, or even shallow cultivation to eliminate as many weeds as possible before your crop gets into the ground. That's really the trick. Number 12 is taking stale seedbed even further with pre-emergence flame weeding, mostly in carrots. You'll prepare your beds like normal, you're popping your weeds, and then you're seeding your carrots. The weeds have a way start on those carrots, and then just before your carrots are ready to emerge, you'll come with a flame weeder and destroy all the weeds that have popped before the carrots. This is the ultimate market gardening trick to handle carrots that don't have any weed pressure. Number 13 is using bio-intensive spacing patterns. This is really how we optimize the spacing of our crops. The goal is to get to leaves that touch one another to create a canopy without lowering your yield. So we're growing amazing, beautiful plants that have really, really nice leaf systems that touch one another. We're maximizing yields, but we're also covering the soil, making it a lot less susceptible to weed pressure and retaining the moisture on the ground for optimal plant growth. Number 14 is using the 30-inch bed system with 18-inch pathways, so 48-inch center-to-center beds. That's really optimal in so many ways. You can hop over the beds, you can harvest in the aisles, reaching from artreach from one way to the other, having your containers, and all the equipment that we use in market gardening is standardized for 30-inch bed size width. Optimal in so many ways, and it's totally the way to go. Number 15, and geez, this is an important one, minimizing foot traffic by smarter farm design. So a lot of the downtime on a farm is people walking from fields to fields. By having field blocks that are standardized in width and in lengths and having them close to one another, by centralizing your farm, having all of the washback area, the greenhouses in the middle of the farm, you'll greatly diminish all this downtime that otherwise is just wasted time that comes at a price tag. Speaking of farm design, if you're interested in learning more about exactly how to set up a farm, you can check the introductory course at themarketgardener.com. This course will show you an overview of everything you need to know ahead of time before starting your own farming journey. Learning techniques, but also showing you how to set up a farm optimally with good farm design. Check it out.